Hi, it's David Filippo, the left and the right winger again. I decided I'm going to continue on at the moment with my greatest to worst president series. Last we did, we had the 15 to 20. Now we're going to try to go on to the next grouping. We're getting into the better ones, at least in my opinion. And this one, the next one I'm going to start with now. I know there's a lot of flack for him. A lot of people don't like him, and I can understand why, but just take it, what I can see, with a grain of salt. And I'm talking about our President Richard Nixon. Uh, largely, he made a taunt with the Soviet Union. He had open relations with China. The economy was, had its ups and downs, but it was okay. And his idea, the whole silent majority, kind of like, really appealing to the people that, kind of what Trump jumped on when he ran for president. The idea of these, normal Americans who don't get in the whole craze of the hippie Vietnam phase and all that going on, right or wrong with the whole Vietnam War. Again, he did recall the troops at the end there. There were some plans to keep it going, and maybe I think the Democrats kind of hindered how he was going to do it because he's supposed to recall troops, and they were supposed to go back, I think, into Hanoi and finish it. So it could have been a much better victory than it was, even though it turned out to being a loss because the Democrats didn't want any more involved, especially because they didn't like Nixon. And I really wonder if that's kind of what happened with Watergate, which is the big thing that kind of taints his role as quality of a president. And the only thing I can have to go on is, and I'd recommend anybody to watch it, the Nixon interviews with David Frost, especially the documentary. The movie's kind of cool. The Frost Nixon movie with Frank Langella, who I remember being Skeletor, but he actually does a really good Richard Nixon in the movie. But if you got to take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, anybody can lie. He's not under oath. He could just be saying anything. There's something you can tell because you can say that sense there's a vulnerability and a fear. So I got a gut feeling the way he's talking. He's not scripted. He's speaking from what his own understanding of the situation, and there may have been some mistakes made, but I don't think it may have been criminal. It sounded like, from my understanding, is that there were some things going on. He was trying to move on. He thought for his own personal foible that the Democrats were out to get him, and in some ways they were. And I think he let that cloud his judgment. So he got very sensitive. Hey, let's just get rid of this Watergate stuff. Let's move on. Not knowing how deep it went, but he was such a hurry to get it out of the way. Every time he tried to stop it, it looked like he was essentially covering it up and covering up his own involvement because it kept leading back to him as if he knew more about it. When it sounds like I don't think he personally knew as much as was let on until it came down to the end when it's not like there were a lot of people in his admin that maybe were overthinking on some of the things that he said and wanted to do and took him to levels that maybe he didn't intend. Because there's some truth about the words he says that I can kind of now. He could be really well scripted as far as what he wanted to say, but like when the next day after he resigned, he said the famous words: "Always remember, others may hate you, but those who hate you don't win unless you hate them, and then you destroy yourself." And that sounds very much like what he did. He made the mistake of letting these people think that he knew they hated him. He hated them back, so he tried to work around it, and it destroyed him. It destroyed him because he decided to hate them back. And in another quote he says, and this is in the Nixon interview, he says, "I gave them a sword, and they stuck it in, and they twisted it with relish." And he said, "I guess if I'd been in their position, I'd done the same thing." Because I think there may have been something in his psyche, but he was very sensitive to people that opposed him. Look what happened if you know back into history when he attempted to run for governor of California after having lost to John F. Kennedy in 1960. He said, "Oh, we won't have Nixon to kick around anymore." I think he was very very sensitive of himself. I don't. And it's not that that sensitivity can affect your leadership qualities, but I think he did all right for what it was worth. I think as a man, he seemed troubled, but I think his heart may have been in the right place. Um, his brain may not have been as far as right and wrong sort of things. And there's a lot to like about the man, I think, and I think I think deep down, I think he was a decent man, and I think he did a good, was a good president. Um, so, so that's enough about him. The next one down the line is William McKinley, going from the 1970s back to the turn of the century, the prior century, from the 1800s to the 1900s. And William McKinley's great because he really pushed the gold standard. That's what he was really elected on, is keeping the American currency based upon gold. And it's funny to say, Nixon actually wound up getting rid of the gold standard. And there may have been debatably some good reasons to do that, but maybe we'll go back and say we kind of need the gold standard. We missed the gold. Milton Friedman, one of the greatest economists I think ever. It's too bad he's no longer living. No, really put a lot of good credibility in the gold standard, and McKinley really put it to good use during his presidency, and we really had a great economy, and economy really well. The only problem that he had was that I think he was late to react to the war a little bit. Even his vice president, who would later become president, who's a little up higher on my list, and I'll talk about later, Theodore Roosevelt, then vice president, would later be president. He said that he had a backbone of a chocolate eclair in his sense of the war, because he was very late to the fact that uh, we left one of our battleships, Battleship Maine, in Havana Harbor, and it blew up. The thought is that essentially the Spanish blew it up. There's something there may have been a mechanical explosion. There's some, especially on the Spanish side, that think it was intentionally blown up by the United States. Don't know. But the point being, it was late to respond based upon the information that was out there. Um, Sad to say, though, after being reelected to a second term, William McKinley was assassinated by Leon Czolgosz, who, much like I guess again today, he was an angry anarchist with socialist left-wing leanings, jealous of the wealth of others. He blamed McKinley for it, and thought, hey, that was a good reason to kill him. So it's unfortunate, but in a way, there was some benefit to having Theodore Roosevelt, but still, he could have waited it out. I mean, that's what this country is based upon. It's the idea of, you wait 4 years or 8 years and it's over. Although back then, McKinley could have run for a third term if he'd lived and had chose to run it again. There was always, even before Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran his fourth term, which I talked about way back, one of the worst presidents. It was just a kind of thing, because George Washington set up that standard of 2 terms, and most people respectfully followed it. Another president I'll mention, Ulysses Grant, attempted to break that, running for a third term, but didn't make it past the primary. But anyway, moving on, in that same era, again, McKinley was a general in the Civil War too, but also so was James Garfield, who I'm going to mention now, was another victim of assassin's bullet. Only been really in office for 4 months after an angry job seeker, Charles Guiteau, uh, just was unhappy that he didn't get a job. His claim to fame was that he wrote a speech, and actually he wrote it for Ulysses S. Grant. Go figure. And it just got reworded to fit Garfield, even though so there's a lot of things that Grant did that Garfield was getting quoted. And the rumor is, I believe it was used. So he thought, oh well, I'm entitled to a job now. You used my speech, yada yada yada. And he didn't get the job, so he said, you know what? I'm going to kill Garfield. And he's famous for saying, I'm a stalwart, Arthur is president. And Arthur's another one I mentioned, who was a big part of the spoils system, which will make it interesting when I mention him, because the spoils system essentially was when, political cronies would elect their friends and their buddies and get them, make sure they get these coveted jobs. And the same thing that Guiteau thought he was entitled to, because he knew Roscoe Conkling and those people in the spoil system. And Garfield was known because he really stood up against this whole spoil system thing. Like, Roscoe Conkling was a big senator at the time, who really thought he was entitled to all these things. And his people were entitled. And Garfield said, no, it's not happening. And he stood up against that. And that, to me, I think is his crowning achievement. Because a big hurdle to get over, and it cost him his life. Poor guy. He's really a well-respected politician at the time. People didn't carry on later in the history book. I think most people say Garfield, they're thinking of Garfield the cat from the comics and the cartoons and everything. But he was a good president for what it was worth. Well, then we'll bounce back to today. The next one, who, in my opinion, is we're bordering on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, We're coming in at number 11. Not quite the top 10, but number 11 is our current president, Donald Trump. Say what you will about his personal life or personal choices, yet have not been proven yet either. There's a lot of accusations. No one's really come forward about what really happened or what the man he really is. But unemployment is at a record low 3%. The economy is doing great. Taxes are down. Our power is respectable. There's some people that don't like the way we do things, but we're still considered a power force. No one's going to mess with us. We have relations with North Korea. It's not perfect, but we're in negotiation. I don't think they're going to do anything stupid. We're not going to do anything stupid, which is better. It's not great, but it's better, and it's safer, and it doesn't make us, fall back like we did with the stupid Iran deal, kind of bowing down to Iran. I know Iran isn't happy right now, but no, they're not really holding up to their end of the bargain either. And again, no collusion. Everybody's going to think that he colluded with Russia. The evidence keeps pointing that he didn't, and he's doing a pretty good job. I'm happy with the last 4 years, and it looks like he's going to be elected to another 4. So I said Donald Trump, number 11. I guess I'm holding him back because some of the personal traits, a little bit. And then there's more I want to see. Like, I want to see that wall built, and I think we're on the right track for it. And maybe if that gets built and a few more transitions by the end of his term, I might be able to boost him up a little bit more. But right now there's a lot of other people, which we're going to talk about maybe 1 or 2 more in this video. Actually, come out of 12 minutes. I'll cap it there, and we'll come back another time. So, again, this ended up being numbers 14 through 11 of the presidents. And we'll touch back with some more coming down the line into my top 10. All right? Thanks.